PTHers, returned private detectives, returning class of Neptune pirates, and broken-hearted NPR host who just wanted his girlfriend to meet his parents finally, to Life on Mars, the Veronica Mars rewatch podcast where we go through episode by episode and one movie. I'm Brenton.
And I'm Emily.
And you guessed it, we're here to talk about the Veronica Mars movie.
Is it just Veronica Mars, the movie?
It's just Veronica Mars. But they don't even put the movie. It's just called Veronica Mars.
We love it.
I wish they put : the movie !
Before we dig in, I know Piz is going to be a really important topic for us because we love Piz and we feel bad for Piz.
Yes.
But I just don't know why Piz didn't do to Veronica what you did to me, which was we had been dating for a month, and you were like, oh, my parents are coming to my graduation. You should sit with my family. I'm going to get drunk as fuck with my friends beforehand. Here, hang out with my sister that you don't know. And, oh, by the way, like, we're going to go to dinner with my family, and my grandmama's going to try to black you out with wine.
Well, so that one I didn't know. But
you didn't see that one coming?
I didn't.
You knew the woman and you didn't see it coming.
I didn't.
That woman tried to put wine in my water glass. Let me tell you, she was a catch. Love her. 10 out of 10.
Oh, yeah. She's the best.
We had a great time. I did not black out. I was very cognizant of how much wine I was consuming. But she did go, do you want more wine? And I was like, sure. And then she's like, get another bottle. And I was like, oh, God, no, not like that. 10 out of 10.
Yeah, no, fantastic.
Your grandmama's a queen.
So
queen.
Take notes, everybody. This is what you do.
Yeah, you know what? You've been dating for like a couple months at most, and you whole family graduation.
You trick them.
Well, it wasn't a trick. It was just what was I going to say?
You force the issue.
No, I'm not going to hang out with you and your family.
Yeah. No, you wouldn't have.
No.
And I appreciate that. And I appreciate you going along with that.
Yeah, go with the flow kind of babe. That's me.
There you go.
I'm not like other girls. I'm just kidding. I'm very much like other girls. But yeah, Piz, you just bamboozle.
Yeah, exactly. No, you don't just lie in wait and hoping that it'll happen and that she'll finally come around. But, he was obviously more invested, and that makes me sad.
He was more invested? Oh, into her coming back.
Yeah.
Than her. I thought you meant than you. And I was like, rude.
No.
You are the weakest link. Goodbye.
In the movie.
Yeah. It's a weird movie too. First time I watched this movie, I was like, yeah, this gives me a lot of the things I wanted. Second time around, not so much. It didn't do the same for me.
It's funny because I mentioned that I liked it better this time, and I did not like it at all the first time we watched it. But yeah, I mean, I think if you think too hard about the stuff that's going on, then it all kinds of it falls apart. But in terms of like, hey, look at all these people coming back around, isn't that nice? And I think the proximity in which we watched it to finishing up season 3, it's like, this is like so much just nicer, even if there's like still a lot of the same problems there, but it's like obfuscated by like just a very easygoing pace. And it moves, so you're not getting really bogged down in anything.
Well, I feel like the plot is the less egregious offense of the whole thing.
Interesting.
I feel like the main plot, like the murder story.
Less egregious.
Than season 3.
Yes, absolutely.
Like it is the least offensive part of the whole movie is the plot. It's the rest of it, or like the main plot. The rest of it is it's a frayed rope at best.
Yeah, totally.
The metaphor is the worst part.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Before we jump in, let's catch up with our friends. What have they been doing in the 7 years since it went off the air?
The actors themselves.
Yes.
I was like,
and the creator. Yeah.
They've been frozen.
Yeah, but so the movie is 9 years, but in the years between it getting canceled, 2007, and it premiering on VOD and in theaters is 2014.
Gotcha.
So, Rob Thomas.
Around the time that I would have been bamboozled by your graduation.
There you go.
Wow.
It was a few weeks after because it was in July.
There we go. Maybe they took inspiration from us.
They must have. So, the Rob Thomas, tried to push for another season, as we know, with the season 4 thing, FBI teaser he put together. That did not happen. Continued to try to push for another revival season to come out of there, and Warner Brothers rejected. So then he pitched them on a movie, and they also said no. And I think that's a funny leftover thing that we don't really push for as much now. I feel like when you hear of revivals, it's like they're getting 6 episodes and you see everyone back, or it's like an hour-long episode where kind of everybody returns. But like at the time, it's it'll come back in a movie, like, which is always funny to me, especially with something like Community. It's like 6
seasons in a movie,
right? And it's like, why would you ever want this as a movie?
What I will say, I think the best version of a revival I have seen, and I am biased, is Gilmore Girls, because they did the 4 parts. Like, they were able to break it down into a way where it's like you had 4 movies, but it felt like a season. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
It moved at the pace of the show, which was already fast. It was already a fast-paced show. It moved at the pace of a movie, I would argue.
Right.
You covered a movie's worth of material per episode.
Yeah, but it's not like, because it's broken over 4 parts, you're not beholden to making some sort of through line through an hour and a half of making a movie.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that because it was from a television show, you still got to just have those pockets of like nostalgia and that television show piece of it, because it wasn't, I don't know. They didn't try to adapt it for theaters.
And it's hard, especially I think probably they go for a movie because getting everybody back to do like a one-off thing is hard when other people are doing other things. So I get it for the constraints of the creation process, but like it's not like the best thing to shoot for, I guess. And I think this mostly pulls it off for coming back. I'd say this is like good and entertaining. But so with that kind of behind him, he goes and co-creates the revival of 90210 that came on the CW in 2009. Left after a season. Goes and tries to revive his show Cupid. It gets 1 season and canceled. Then he goes and creates Party Down on Showtime.
Isn't it Showtime?
I think so.
That's where it lives now.
I think it was Showtime.
I don't know.
So it was probably the same. Which got 2 seasons. Tremendous show. And a lot of the people from that show came from Veronica Mars, Ken Marino being the main one there, and then bleed back into this movie, Martin Starr. And that show actually got recently announced that they're doing a revival.
Really? Party Down?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's coming back. That could be good, because everybody on there...
Everyone from there either like took off or was already taking off when that show happened.
Totally. That is way harder to get the people back to that show than it is to Veronica Mars. And I will explain, because that show you got Adam Scott, who's blown up since then through Parks and Rec. You got Martin Starr, who is just in fucking everything and was on Silicon Valley for a long time, but I'm assuming now that he has more space to be able to do that. Jane Lynch was in the first season of that. Megan Mullally was on the second season.
And you've got what's her name from Mean Girls?
Yes, you have. Oh God!
And Bachelorette.
Yeah, my brain just stopped. I'm gonna go look it up.
Bachelorette is my favorite. If I'm going to watch like a wedding bridesmaid movie, it's going to be Bachelorette. Jenna brought cocaine.
Lizzie Kaplan.
Thank you.
Tremendous. And then our good friend Ryan Hansen is in that, and I'd arguably playing a better version of Dick. Because it's more just like, yeah, I'm just like an easy, cool, chill bro who's like, an empty-headed model.
So Party Down happened before the movie?
Yes, that was 2009 to 2010.
That could explain why the Dick in this is a little bit more like tolerable, because he played like a version of Dick that wasn't Dick too.
Totally. He's got like more experience and everything under his belt and a slightly different type of character.
Yeah, to taper in the role.
Yeah. Party Down, great show. And then comes back to Veronica Mars is still kind of pushing for it in the background. Takes a year, puts together a pitch for it, and launches it on Kickstarter. For those who don't know, it's a crowdfunding platform where you can go on and you can pledge money to different projects, and those projects help get the thing created. And they'll have like different tiers where it's like, you get a T-shirt, or like you get a copy of the movie, all the way up to like Jason Doring will send you a autograph headshot, or like you come on the set and meet the people. One of the pledges for Veronica Mars was home screening, or not home screening, a schedule of screening for like when it comes out at a theater.
Cool.
Kickstarter at the time had a few big projects, one of them being Double Fine's video game, Double Fine Adventure, which Double Fine makes adventure games.
Got it.
They did things like Psychonauts, Brutal Legend, and then before that, like Day of the Tentacle. They had a big Kickstarter that was able to fund, where they made like a documentary, and they were able to make a bunch of games off of it. Hugely successful. So things like that, big projects, is why they went to put it on Kickstarter and just give it a shot. Like, as Rob Thomas put, like, last roll of the dice for this. This is like the last area, because they couldn't get funding from anywhere else. So they raised $1 million in a day. And they blew all the former Kickstarter records at that time. And then eventually went on to close off with $5 million just from there. So they made $5 million on Kickstarter to make the movie, and then later Warner Brothers Digital came in and helped them release it to a wider theater run and on VOD.
Nice.
Yeah. But otherwise, it was all made with Kickstarter money.
Yeah, so in theory then, since the fans funded it, the fans get to have what they want.
Totally.
Which is how you should do that.
And yeah, and that's kind of how this like movie reads.
It's wish fulfillment.
Yeah, totally. So you, with Rob Thomas had been in touch with Kristen Bell on this, like working closely with her to get this off the ground, and she's 100% supportive about it. And then so when it made its goal, it was like, okay, this is a real thing. This is happening now. And you looked up and found.
So we're watching the movie, and I was like, I know from the age of her children and timelines that like she should have had a baby or is having a baby recently around this. And I know that many women film and are pregnant on sets and, you know, whatever. But I was like, I feel like she would have already have had to had the baby just because of like the way they film the shots. You know what I mean? Like, she doesn't particularly look pregnant. So I looked it up, and she was literally 9 months pregnant when like Rob Thomas was like, yeah, like I think we're going to do this. And so they started filming this 3 months after she had, I think, their oldest.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And I'm like, could you imagine having a baby, which for some reason lately my social media has decided that it's because of my age. I am a 28-year-old lady, which means that I am prime, like, you know, baby making content, like for all social media. It's like, oh, you know what? Like, we've given up on putting the engagement rings on our page. Occasionally we'll put them there, but we really want her to poop out a baby because capitalism. And so the world is feeding me this narrative. And so I keep seeing all these people on social media getting pregnant and having babies. And it also has to do with my age, and that, you know, people my age are intentionally having babies, which is great. Go for you. Good job. But like, the idea of childbirth is stressful to me. And so the idea that she literally went through the trauma of childbirth, where it looks traumatizing. I don't know about you. I think it looks traumatizing. And if you're a man, I don't care what your opinion is. And then she was like 3 months later, was like, yep, we can do this. Are you kidding me?
Wild.
Yeah. Good God, what a badass.
Yeah, absolutely. And she's the main character, so she's in every scene.
She's in every scene, and she just had a baby, which means she has to like feed the baby, and like you can, like, if she's breastfeeding, she's got to like pump and do all that shit. And like, I don't know, I didn't look up what choices she made postpartum, because it's not my fucking business. But like, it's just, you can infer that it's a lot of fucking work regardless if you have a baby and you're filming a movie.
It's like incredible. Like,
90 days post popping out a baby.
Completely hats off.
Yeah. And then that baby's only 3, like, that's when they start like kind of becoming more alert, but it's like 6 months is when they're finally like, you feel like, okay, like I feel like this is a solid thing now.
Right.
So I'm just like, that's still a fresh baby. God. Could not imagine. Hats off to you, Kristen Bell.
Yeah, so let's talk about her for a sec. She gets her, you know, famous foothold as Veronica Mars. So she's known as the lead on this cult classic. Starts getting work. She was on Heroes for 2 seasons. I didn't remember this at all.
I never watched Heroes.
She was in the bad when it started getting bad, unfortunately. And so I was like, oh my God, I just had to call that out. But the really most important thing that happened directly after Veronica Mars is Forgetting Sarah Marshall, her first big movie role.
She filmed that before they filmed those last 4 episodes of Veronica Mars, I believe.
Yeah.
Or like right after. I think it was right before they filmed those, or like right around that time. So she was like, yeah, as I'm having that meltdown. I watched an interview where she went through the timeline of her work, and she's like, as I was having that meltdown in Forgetting Sarah Marshall, she's like, I'm actually like, yeah, my career is crumbling.
Super serendipitous. So that hits huge. She's in a bunch of other rom-coms after that, but started getting consistent other work. And then a year before this movie comes out, Frozen comes out. So then that's another
Frozen came out before this movie?
Yep, 2013.
Frozen is, I mean, okay. This year for my 28th birthday, what was my birthday party theme?
Frozen.
Because what is the best Disney franchise? I don't know. I don't want to say that actually because I love Moana, but Frozen is just Frozen is just it's a beautiful franchise. It's a beautiful theme. It's a beautiful story. And when I watched that video that took me through her career, that she went through her career timeline, apparently I think she auditioned for Tangled that they gave to Mandy Moore. And they were like, yeah, like we want to create a princess for you because like we like this idea of this kind of character. Because I feel like Tangled is the first Disney princess movie where the Disney princess isn't like, where am I? You know what I mean? Like she's not airy. She's like trapped, like she's ignorant because she was trapped in a tower, but she's like resourceful and like funny and creative and witty and all of these things that like you don't usually get in a Disney princess.
Yeah.
Like as a kid, you're like, you get Cinderella, you get Sleeping Beauty. Like they don't really have personality traits that feel empowering.
Totally.
And I think
damsel in distress.
Exactly. And like, well, Tangled is still kind of a damsel in distress story and she gets scammed and things like that. It's not the same. Like she's very much more humanized. Yeah. And so I loved that they were like, yeah, like not quite like we want to go the Mandy Moore direction with this, but it is Mandy Moore, right?
Yes.
But then they created like I think she helped create Anna as a princess. And like the idea that like you got to like formulate a Disney princess or like have any input on a Disney princess seems like like that'd be the peak of my life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you can't go up from here.
Totally. Like that's huge.
And to be able to create a character that is so human and yet, you know, like still gets to have like these adventures and like so very like grounded to play the counter of like an ethereal queen it's a very beautiful story.
Absolutely.
It makes me very happy.
Yes, I 100% agree with you.
But yeah, no, I mean 10 out of 10, like what an option. Like and to then get to raise little girls in a world where you have created this Disney princess. Right. Though I'm sure they all just want to be Elsa.
That's what I was going to say. Didn't she have to be Elsa for Halloween? Yeah. Stings a little.
That's how it works. How it works. I mean, but who doesn't want to be Idina Menzel?
Hey, it's tough. It's tough. She was also in House of Lies, so she was working elsewhere. So Kristen Bell, arguably the hardest to get out of everybody on this list. The only other person that they had a tough time organizing the shoot around was Kristen Ritter, who was it plays Gia, who was booked on like other movies. So they were like super skeptical of, or not like super worried, I should say, about like not being able to like fit her in since she's a huge part of this movie. And then the other notable absence. Oh my God, is Leighton Meester, who played Carrie Bishop in the original show, who is replaced by, I've got her name here. One sec. Andrea Estella. Who's from the band now Mr. Twin Sister, formerly known as Twin Sister.
Ooh.
But everybody else is doing more, well, minus Tina Margarino, plays Mac, who was on a big love for multiple seasons, and which also interfered with Veronica Mars season 3 at the time. Everybody else is kind of doing more like
Which is why Mac was in Modesto.
yeah, exactly, Modesto. Everybody else is doing like a more workman acting.
Or was it Bakersfield? Whatever. It was Central Valley.
Bakersfield. It was Bakersfield. Central Valley. Everybody else is kind of doing more workman-like stuff. They're kind of popping up in guest roles here and there. Actually, except for Enrico Colantoni, who is leads on multiple kind of like smaller procedural shows.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody else is kind of like, yeah, we're ready to come back. And reading an interview with Rob Thomas, he's like, yeah, so once we had secured the funding, it was kind of going back to everybody. It's like, hey, how would you like to work for scale and then have to sign autographs? Because there's like an aggressive marketing push for this where they're like going to cons and things and seeing people. And everybody signed on board, which is, that's kind of incredible.
Mm-hmm.
That, but that like sucks that nobody's really like making much off
this.
it. Yeah, exactly. Everybody's getting paid minimum wage essentially.
I do. Yeah, I guess it's like, are you doing anything else? Like how much do you value this as an experience? And then like, what does that look like?
Yeah, totally. And I get that they're excited to come back. Yeah, it's just kind of disappointing that you're working on a budget. I understand that. But yeah, that kind of sucks for the working actors there.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely.
Mm-hmm. And I mean a lot of that I think goes into like the look of the movie. It's like because this movie looks expensive, even if it isn't. It's relatively inexpensive to shoot. And I mean, that makes sense because a lot of it is just like them in scenes talking, like at the majority. And that's what it needs to be. That's not a complaint. That's not a dig at it. That's just how I can rationalize in my head why it's not super expensive to shoot. But, I mean, $5 million, nothing to sneeze at. But in movie budget,
yeah, that's a pretty small.
Yeah. And then you get lots of weird cameos, which I think were probably favors from friends.
People that just like really enjoyed the show.
Totally. And people that probably just worked in Rob Thomas's orbit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and we'll get to some of this as we go along. But yeah, I think that's all my background for this.
I love it. Coming into this, I want everyone to keep a couple of questions into their head. Why does Logan only date people he went to high school with?
Mm-hmm.
Why did Piz think this was a good idea the second time? And
yeah. You don't.
What are your feelings on Ira Glass?
Yep. I mean, his specter just hangs over the whole film after he appears.
How much do you think Ira Glass got paid?
Scale.
Hello, and welcome to, I don't know, I can't think of like an Ira Glass.
Hi, this is Veronica Mars. This American Life, we're going to be profiling a former Neptune private investigator.
Veronica, welcome. Shall we start?
Yes, let's get to it.
So we start with Jamie Lee Curtis.
Like I said, cameos, it is just like, wait, what? That's Jamie Lee Curtis.
We both sat on the couch and we're like, we could not remember her name because, COVID brain and also just like mental fatigue and it's a Friday night. And I'm like, fuck, like we know her and like she's in all these things and like she's in Freaky Friday. She's in everything.
Uh-huh.
Why is Freaky Friday the first thought I have?
No, that's 100% my first thought as well.
Good.
It's When We Were Raised.
Mm-hmm. I've only watched that movie like once.
I've seen it multiple times.
It makes me really uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah. The concept is insanely uncomfortable.
It makes me physically like achy.
Yeah.
Like I don't feel good.
It's really gross. The implications of a Freaky Friday situation are awful.
You could say it's a freaky thought for a Friday night.
Exactly. On our Saturday. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, so Jamie Lee Curtis is interviewing Veronica. She is going over Veronica's resume. Veronica went to Hearst. Then she transferred to Stanford and majored in psychology. And then she went to Harvard Law School.
Columbia?
Mm-hmm. I thought she went to Harvard Law.
Columbia.
Oh. Why did I write down Harvard?
Harvard. Because she's she's finishing up school at the time of the beginning of this.
Uh-huh.
And Columbia's in New York also, so.
Got it. And Jamie Lee Curtis, she's obviously Veronica's interviewing at a big law firm. Like one of the big law firms.
Truman Man.
Okay.
I'm like, I have this written down. I don't know why I wrote it down. I'm like, I'm going to write down. I'm going to start off taking intense notes on this movie, Truman Man.
Oh, I set the bar low for myself. I already wrote down Harvard when it wasn't actually in it.
Perfect.
Don't trust me. And just in general.
Keep it, another thing to keep in mind. That's number 4.
I mean, also, if you fact check anything I've said up till this moment and you're like, she's wrong, it's fine. Tell me. I'm okay with that. But so she's like, what about this PI training thing? When we look you up, there's a whole bunch of articles linked to your name.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that's really fucking impressive. Like, why are we...
Right. They're just like curious, like, why the hell are these like news stories popping up of you almost getting killed and all this stuff happening in Neptune? I'd be like, what the hell is happening in your town?
What also makes me sad about this is because, like, we watched that little thing of like what it could have been with her in the FBI.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm like, that would be a much more fun storyline.
Right.
Like her having to like being in the FBI, but like needing to do things her own way. You know what I mean? Like going rogue. Like that would have been a really better like push and pull of like who Veronica is.
Right.
Instead, it's like she lost herself after the sex tape.
Right. Totally. Yeah. No, that greener grass of like, now that I'm part of the FBI, where am I drawing the lines between like
good
exactly and working for the state?
A man's got to have a code.
Yeah. I don't think Rob Thomas would have pulled it off, but it would have been fun.
It would have been a cool story.
Yeah, exactly.
But it doesn't. Yeah. So regardless, enough of my wish fulfillment. So she's like, yeah, I'm no longer a PI when I transferred to Stanford because the price was too high.
Yeah.
We never really get an answer on this.
No.
Why did she stop doing this?
I have no idea.
We don't know.
Uh-uh.
We never figured out. So then there's a man in this interview too, and he's a dick.
Yeah. Sorry. They're making it like, because of the whole addiction metaphor that we'll get to in a sec. It's like that it was like eroding her life somehow, and that she needed to get away from it. Like it's like some sort of disease she has.
Mm-hmm. Like an adrenaline junkie.
Right.
But we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
Because then the interviewer, Jamie Lee Curtis, is like, well, what would you say about someone when you look at like PI, psych major, and then like you were a psych major, like how do you look at this, like when you look at your resume? And she's like, maybe an adrenaline junkie, someone who's addicted to their job, or you know, like addicted to the chase, or like after like needs craves the chaos or whatever. She's like, but that's not me anymore. And I'm like, what a boring bitch. This is not Veronica.
Well, that's what she finds out later, isn't it?
Veronica doesn't lose herself now. I'm sorry, your early 20s are fucking awful, but if your best friend gets murdered when you're in high school, I think you know who you are.
Totally. Yeah, it's a weird thing that like I've been out of the game for 9 years, and like I completely lost myself after the sex tape scandal, and I had to go away
to a different school.
Right, but that's not Veronica.
No.
She doesn't run away,
and she didn't run away when it happened.
No. Again, this is the type of stuff where you start like looking at it a little too closely, start thinking about it. It's like, oh god damn it.
The rope is fraying around the knot.
Exactly. Yeah.
So then the man in the interview is like, oh, well, did you transfer because of the sex tape? And she's like, well, and the other interviewer is like, don't say that. And she's like, oh no, opposing counsel might, like, here's what I'll say. Like, I didn't know I was being recorded and someone released it without my consent. Which also then, sir, why are you consuming my sex tape? That's what I would have said.
Yeah.
I would have been like, oh, did you enjoy it? That's interesting.
Right.
That's really interesting that you're interested in 18-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
Sir,
get
your life together. Bop, bop. We are done with your patriarchal bullshit.
Damn right.
Except we're not, because, carry on. So then Veronica leaves the interview. She goes to tell Piz about it. Piz is doing a radio interview for NPR with insert person who wrote book here.
Yeah. It's like NPR, but not NPR. So it's like I was assuming it was an affiliate.
Him PR.
Yep. Him PR.
Because I only saw men.
Yeah.
Hello, white journalist.
May not be so different. Yeah, and when he's interviewing on the book, he like makes a mention about how the book was it was like done through a Kickstarter.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah,
Piz is always like our like he calls out all the things about this, because he also says at one point like oh no, it just left.
You're talking about like meta stuff?
Yeah. He does all the meta stuff in this. He's
Mhm.
he's like our one key to all of that. Oh, it'll come back to me.
Okay.
When you love something, you set it free.
Totally. Maybe it's later in the notes.
Well, I doubt I wrote it down. You know me.
Okay.
But regardless, Piz is like, Veronica's like, yeah, they brought up the sex tape, and Piz is like, oh, like, I'm sure it's fine, whatever, you know. And then Ira Glass comes over to talk to Piz, and Veronica's like, would you like to see my Ira Glass impression?
Another distracting celebrity cameo.
Where Brendan goes, is that Ira Glass? It's like, listen, close your eyes and listen.
Right. You notice I didn't say anything later when James Franco appears. Yeah, whatever, James Franco. Ira Glass.
He's like, Piz, I need this article, whatever. And Piz is like, yeah, I'll get you your TPS reports or whatever the hell, office space metaphor we got going on here.
100% it.
Veronica gets distracted because there's a thing on the TV. Ba-bum. A woman has died, Bonnie DeVille, who is actually Carrie Bishop that Veronica went to high school with. She was found dead in her bathtub. At the same time, we also find out Veronica's telling Piz that Wallace wants her to come back to Neptune for their high school reunion, and she's like, I don't want to go because what a hellhole.
Yeah, why the fuck would I do that?
Then
good instincts on her.
Yeah. Her and Piz, talk about it. They take their cab home. Veronica updates us that she hasn't talked to Logan in 9 years, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah, because Logan was dating Bonnie DeVille.
Yes, because he only dates girls he went to high school with.
Totally.
You know what? I really, you peak at 16 and you just only shop in that market.
Exactly. You may travel the seas with the Navy, but you still come back home.
He put down his anchor.
Exactly.
In Neptune.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Yeah. I feel like if I was Logan, I would have moved to fucking Canada.
I know. If there's someone that should have transferred...
It was Logan.
Yeah. Makes sense.
This whole town is filled with trauma for him.
Oh, yeah. No matter what. And then just more trauma keeps happening. And so, there's paparazzi video and stuff, which is also another through line of the show of using TMZ as our, news report on this, which I understand to a certain point of, paparazzi on Logan and, famous star. But those are the actual TMZ people. So, I feel really uncomfortable about this, buddy-buddy relationship of, having, the TMZ people make a cameo in this movie because TMZ is fucking gross.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. It's not cute.
Oh, and we also get a reveal of a new Sheriff Lamb.
Yes. Who
I fucking love this type of thing.
Is Sheriff Lamb's older brother, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah. I love this type of thing where it's this is both in this and Twin Peaks.
Yes.
There's a new sheriff that is a brother that we didn't know about.
Exactly. Look, there's a new sheriff in town. Don't
right.
worry. It's
much like the old one.
Exactly. But yeah, so then we cut over to Veronica has her second interview. She gets a phone call. It's from Logan. And the photo on her phone that pops up is Logan from high school. It is baby Logan.
It really is.
Because she hasn't talked to him in 9 years.
Uh-huh. And of course, these damn phones bringing across all their pictures.
And of course, he kept his profile photo as him at 16.
Apparently.
Or 19 or whatever.
Yeah. And, this movie brought to you by Samsung.
Well, and then she answers the phone and we get our classic line. I need your help, Veronica. Veronica's like, of course, I shall help you because I haven't talked to you in 9 years. If anyone I dated had the audacity to call me and ask for help.
Yeah.
For what?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Do you remember how it ended 9 years ago?
Yeah, you beat the shit out of Piz. He's still got skull fractures.
Yeah. Yeah. Under a microscope. Why are you doing this? This makes no sense. Mm-hmm. But she's just got this urge to get back. But she's got the fix.
I think
she feels ants running all over her skin.
Yeah, but I think the problem is that this encourages men to harass women long after we've forgotten about them.
Yeah, totally. And it's that stupid shit about I can't quit you.
Yeah, no, I can quit you.
Yeah,
I can quit anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Just getting real threatening over here.
Totally. I hate it in concept. But then when we get back into fucking San Diego and he's in his Navy whites, it's hard. You go, what team am I on again? Piz, you're on Team Piz.
Okay, yeah, so that is the problem, that they make Logan really likable. Again,
Yeah.
they do what they did in season 2 to Logan. They make him likable again.
Totally, because he's like lower key and like more calm. So like the snarky comments are snarky, but like they're like toned down a little, and he's just like more relaxed person overall.
It's less aggressive.
Totally. And while he does have moments of violence in here, he's just like a more like calm and put together person. So it's like, okay, now he's like likable.
So what she
and
does,
not a monster.
she tells Piz, hey, I'm gonna go see Wallace and Matt because they're gonna be in town for the reunion. I'm gonna go help Logan interview lawyers because it's a media case, and this is something I used to be good at, and I am a lawyer now. So it all fits together in my cute little chaos jumble. And Piz is like, yeah, totally chill about it, which is never, don't be the cool girl, Piz. Don't be the cool girl.
Hey, he's just a nice guy. Piz is a nice guy.
But he's doing what he did in the other thing where it's like, yeah, I'm okay with this. And then they make Piz into a doormat, and it makes me sad because he deserves better.
Yeah, and I hate this. And I hate this so much because
it's always that nice guys finish last bullshit.
It is. And it's
not true.
And I have no idea what Rob Thomas's original plan for the character Piz was, of whether this is fan influence from the negative reaction to him during season 3, or if this is like that he was always kind of planning like this nice guy that like Veronica finds that he's just too boring.
He's just not. Yeah,
but he's not boring, which is like what's so frustrating.
Yes, that's what I was. I looked at Brenton and I was like, I would date a guy who works for NPR, which
right.
It's not quite what I meant. But.
Right. Yeah. But like he's an interesting dude.
Yeah, and he has a career path. He's really interested in music. He wanted to work. He interned for Pitchfork or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
right. Like he's done shit. He's not like some like deadbeat guy who like is just. He's not the not to go to Forgetting Sarah Marshall. That's top of mind. The Jason Segel in that movie where it's like he's a nice guy but he's doing fucking nothing. So like it's like it makes sense why she leaves him.
Yeah.
But like in this, like Piz is like, yeah, I've got my life together. I just want you to meet my parents.
Well, and it's like they dated in college and then they broke up and then now they're back together and they've been together for like a year.
Yeah.
That was also weird to me.
I
was like, oh.
Yeah.
Convenient?
Right. They just happen to reconnect in New York or whatever. But, and so I mentioned the negative fan reaction. A quote from Chris Lowell when he heard he was getting invited back to do the movie. He's like, I didn't believe it at first. And then when I spoke to Rob, I'm like, okay, what's up? Am I going to die?
Yeah. Are they going to charge me to be in this film?
Right. Yeah, exactly. What are you going to do to Piz? Fair.
So then Veronica goes to fly to Neptune to go help Logan. She flies across the country and she lands. Logan had gotten her seat in first class, which we love. We love a first class seat.
Totally. Hey, that's nice.
But she gets there and waiting when she gets off the plane, so he got through security, is Logan Eccles in his Navy whites because he had just been meeting with the JAG lawyers.
Yes. Everybody gets off, says hello, sailor.
He's like, yeah, I had to meet with them, and she's like, you should always wear this outfit. Here's a hug.
Makes a joke about officer and gentleman. And I will say, just across the board on this movie, everybody looks great. Everybody got glowed up. Like everybody looks fucking tremendous.
He looks like he like bulked up but leaned out, you know what I mean?
Totally.
But he looks like he ate High School Logan for breakfast.
Absolutely.
It looks like he eats High School Logan every day, but then he like runs 15 miles.
He did the for his body what it is now. Like it's not the same as the metaphor I'm gonna make.
Mighty Mouse?
No, not quite. I was gonna say like Rock when he was in WWE versus Rock now. That's like the difference in his body shape. Obviously, he's nowhere near as ginormous as what the Rock is, but like
yeah, we don't call him the Rock. He's like, are you gonna ask me like about it, like whatever? And she's like, if I believed that you did it, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
And we're like, wow, okay, so The entire theme of season 3 was that Veronica couldn't trust Logan. She just decides after 9 years he's trustworthy.
Yeah, totally.
What?
To go to bat for him and things. So, like, there is a
Yeah.
difference that we would never think that Logan would actually kill someone. Obviously, 9 years, you don't know what's changed in person, but you could,
I believe anyone within a 9-year span could have changed enough to murder someone. I don't know.
Totally. But why it's like this person fucking just, it's this weird dichotomy of like, well, the grass is greener over here than my horrible functional relationship in New York because I'm a junkie.
Yeah, I'm just addicted to the chase.
Ugh.
Bad boys.
Yeah.
Big feelings.
Uh-huh. But it's got danger.
Yeah, exactly. So, then he's like, okay, I'm gonna drive you. So he drives her. I'm doing driving hands. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
He drives her
Everybody
to
following along. We're in the car.
Mars
What do
Investigations.
you guys want on the radio?
It's a new office.
Yep, new office. Looks like it's in because this was all shot mostly in LA, like in the warehouse district down there. So bigger space for sure.
Yeah. The phone's ringing when she walks in, and there's a client waiting, and Dad's not there, so she goes and answers it, and then Keith comes in.
Does the hesitation, like, do I want to pick this up? I'm gonna get back into my old ways if I pick this up.
And he's like, oh my God, yeah, you're here. And then he's like, how does Piz feel about you coming to help Logan?
Mm-hmm.
And because he likes Stosh.
Yep.
Only person who calls Piz by his first name.
Yeah.
And he's like, are you sure he's okay with it? And she's like, yeah, Piz is totally chill with it. And so then they drive home.
So here was my revelation this morning. This is a Hallmark movie.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so it's
Rob Thomas was like, I mean, I assume, once again, I can't put words in his mouth, but it's like, you know what the fans want? This is by man for women.
Mm-hmm.
So here we go. Woman has man, big city, comes home from big city. Father is like, don't you want big city man? Big city man, big city life.
You got to get out of this small dead end town.
Yeah, you know why I left my small dead end town? Because I didn't like it.
Yeah.
Not because I thought that there was no life for me there. Because I didn't want to live there.
Yeah. To be fair, a lot of bad shit happens in this town.
Yeah.
But yeah, this just
But Keith could move.
Totally. And
he's a high profile PI. He could pick up a business in Santa Barbara or something.
Yeah, he's got a full house now. Look at that house. Yeah, it's just hilarious. It's like, I'm leaving I'm overworking with that man I live with in the city, coming back home, and I find my country boy, and I want to shack back up with him.
Yep. You know, I knew him in high school, and he was just, we'd flirt a little in biology class, and now here we are.
Yep. At
our mason jar wedding in the cornfield with the flowers.
If it was less violent and was set around Christmas, this could fit on Hallmark.
Okay, but like if you want to make those stories realistic, there's always violence. There's always some fight between the old guy and the new guy. Stop, break it up.
I meant the like shit later when with Cobb.
Oh yeah.
Not the fight at the reunion, whatever.
I was like, no, men fight men. It's something they teach us on Hallmark.
No, it's the part where there's a gun and people dying.
Yeah, and women die.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Because that's what happens. Men get violent and women die.
Yep.
Isn't that interesting?
Our gross obsession continues.
Mm-hmm. So they drive home. They're driving home, and they get stopped by a quote unquote a stop and frisk in front of them because the police station has taken to racial profiling with Lamb's new.
They've turned Neptune into like a fascist police state. Is how they talk about it. Mm-hmm. And this is. It's like so weird to have this be a plot line that just like. I think they're meant to like do it like, damn, she comes back and this is going to be the setup for the next one. If we can continue this on, because that's what Rob Thomas does. He's like, hey, here, I'm going to have these dangling threads for you so we can get this going, kick this off. Mm-hmm. But it just doesn't resolve it. So it's this weird hanging thread of like a plot that goes nowhere.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, yeah, so we see that the new sheriff's department is stopping basically any Mexican kid and, like accusing them of crimes and planting evidence and shit like that.
Yep.
they start beating up this kid as they're searching his car. So Keith starts recording them on his phone. And then he's like, I hope you guys should stop because you don't want to be a YouTube sensation. And as we know now, cops aren't actually afraid of that. But at this time, we still thought, I don't know, we were ignorant because we were white.
Right. That might change something that might actually face consequences.
Yeah. So then he's like, well, I already uploaded it to the cloud. So even if you take my phone, haha, I've got it.
Totally. And they were, just to elaborate on that, they weren't not facing consequences at the time. It just, we weren't paying attention.
Mm-hmm. So he's like, yep, this is the new lamb. He's the older brother of the old lamb. He's worse than the old lamb. He makes the old lamb look like a piece of cake.
Yeah, I would agree.
And so then eventually we all get to drive away. Everyone gets to go home. We're at home. Doorbell rings. Who's there?
Our good friends.
Mac and Wallace.
Hey, it's stuff like this that makes this movie really good because you're like, damn, okay, I'm getting really fucking excited seeing Wallace and Mac come back in here, and like everybody really just sinks right back into the patter really well. And as Percy Dagg said, if he wasn't invited back, that he had the NAACP on speed dial.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Wallace is 10 out of 10 character.
Yeah, fucking amazing, especially later.
Yep. Wallace is now a teacher at the high school and a basketball coach for the JV team. He just got promoted from freshman to JV.
Mm-hmm.
My school didn't have freshman versus JV. You had JV or you had varsity.
We had freshmen.
Oh.
But this was also a school of 4,000 kids. So when you have those big of classes, I think just to feed people in.
Yeah, we I think Sundays we'd have a freshman football team, but never a
basketball.
Yeah, I don't know though, because me and my sport watching, I was like, we'll go varsity games.
Yeah, I think it might have been the opposite for us. We didn't have a freshman football team, but I don't know if that's true actually. I can't remember how many sports had freshman teams, but a lot of them did.
So Mac now has a new job at Kane Software.
Yeah,
they pay her a lot of money. She sold her soul, but we understand because money.
Yeah,
capitalism, babe.
Exactly. Do not blame Mac.
And then they're talking about Veronica. Wallace is like, hey, when Logan called and said jump, did you just say how high or did he just know? And she's like, stop bullying me. You've had 2 beers and you're already an asshole. And then Mac's like, yeah, like how's Piz, whatever. And she's like, we like Piz. And Veronica's like, yeah, Piz really doesn't ever get charged with murder. That does make him a good boyfriend.
Yeah. As she like wistfully stares off into the distance like this is a bad thing.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Which is like, okay, like it's baffling to me. Like, it's one thing to be like, you know what, she has this undying love for Logan. It's okay to be like, you know what, it's romantic. Like, she loves him and she's not in love with Piz. And like, that's fine. That would be an okay plot. But the idea that it's like, she loves Logan because he's a problem.
Exactly.
Oh, it's so gross. It makes me want to vomit.
Exactly. And I've got this like need for danger and everything. And it's the addiction framing is just infuriating. Yeah.
So yeah, we get a little bit of pitter patter, cute conversation there, and then they're like, "You're coming to the reunion," and she's like, "Fuck no." Same, me too. So then we cut over to Veronica going to Logan's, and do you know who opens the door?
Dick,
who the years have treated him well.
Yes, again,
he is once again a little buffer, a little slimmer.
Everybody in this movie.
This movie is also a surefire sign that life is better in your 30s than it is in your 20s.
That is 100% true. Everybody is doing, even the problem people are doing just fine.
Yeah, they're so much better. Life is so much better in your 30s, I assume, than it is in your 20s. My early 20s, God, were a fucking mess.
Right.
Like, it was a nightmare. Like, I found you, but like, God at what cost? Like, I don't know how we did it. Right.
Dick is an asshole still, but like, he's like fucked off and doing his own thing. Like,
yeah. So Dick is like, also, hey, look, cool. A sex tape was released from Logan and Bonnie. AKA Carrie. That drove me, the first time we watched this movie, I was like really confused.
It's really
because it's also not Leighton Meester anymore. So then my brain is just like, what the fuck? Who are these people?
And since she's only seen in pictures and like weird camera footage, it makes it even harder to get a read on who this character is, because there's no interaction of just like her and Veronica being like, oh God, like the last time I saw you was when you worked that case helping my friend.
Exactly.
Which is another thing when we get later and there's talk of Susan Knight. I'm like, that's got to be the character from the episode that gets with Adam Scott where she like the student that had the affair with the teacher.
Yes.
But like it's really hard to pick that up when she's just a minor character.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't even interact with anybody else.
Yeah, it's interesting. So then Logan's like, yeah, that's definitely us, and Veronica's like, that's weird, because
it's your feet.
It's your feet.
You left socks on?
I don't think they were wearing socks.
Were they not wearing socks? I thought I saw
remember.
socks. Thought I saw two socks.
Oh, that'd be so funny.
I think it is.
I mean, hey, you know, I did read online once that it's easier for women to orgasm if they're wearing socks because if your feet are cold, it's harder to orgasm. Do I know if that's true? No, I have not. I have not done extensive research on this, and every body is different. But did I think that was funny? Like when I read it, I was like, huh.
Hey, you know, give it a shot if you're in trouble.
Exactly. Put on some socks. Let me know how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're a man, please don't.
don't tell us.
Yeah, I don't want to.
We know you're doing fine.
Yeah. And if you know what, there's lots of things out there for you.
Yeah.
But so then we talk to lawyers. Dick lets in the first lawyer. The first lawyer is definitely like a media lawyer. I don't know if that's a thing. That's what I'm calling him.
Yeah.
He likes media cases. You can tell he enjoys a media case.
Yeah. This is the guy. He would have been hired to work with OJ.
Yes, he's like, let me paint a picture of you as a hero because you have all this money and your father tried to kill your girlfriend and he tried to kill he killed your other girlfriend and you joined the Navy for your country.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he's not wrong. Like that's how like these big media cases can be won.
Because it's the court of public opinion.
That's right.
And then we skip through the rest of them. We don't get to really meet any of the other lawyers because time. And Veronica's like, hey, I'd go with insert name here because I can't remember any of them. She's like, but I did like what the last one said, which was part of clearing you will be finding a compelling theory to convince them otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's interesting. And then Logan's like, well, Veronica, since we've done so much hard work today, let's go behave like any good businessman. Let's go get a drink.
At a dive bar.
They go to a dive bar. It is karaoke night. And karaoke night means that Bonnie DeVille's #1 fan is there.
Ruby Jetson.
Played by Gabby Hoffman,
mm-hmm.
who is from Transparent and many other things.
Oh my God, is she? Like Tina Margarino, former child star and is now doing all kinds of shit now. She's in Girls. She was in Problem Child. All kinds of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Obvious Child. Apologies.
Obvious Child. Oh my God, that was a really good movie. I forgot about that movie.
I was like, nope, not Problem Child. That is a very different movie.
Obvious Child's a really good movie, if I remember correctly.
Yes, it was. It was very funny.
So then Logan's like, yeah, I think I got a message from her after Carrie died because it said every ending has a new beginning.
Yeah.
And Veronica,
it was like Bonnie Stan 23 or something.
Yeah, Bonnie Fan 23. And then
so close.
As Bonnie, or not Bonnie, what's her name? Ruby is performing her song. She walks up to Logan and Veronica and like sings to Logan, and then he's like, who is she? What is she doing here? And we're like,
Yep.
She definitely knows who Veronica is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Definitely intimates that she knows who she is.
So then after they leave, Veronica's like, yeah, that's real fishy. This girl's sus. And she's like, by the way, Logan, I'm really sorry about Carrie. You know, like it's hard to have your girlfriend die again.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know, the first year was really good, but the rest were bad, basically.
So I'm broken up, but like we can still make it.
Because I'd already broken up with her before this happened, but like I felt I was more of her sponsor than her boyfriend towards the end, because I was her stabilizing influence.
That's a sad state of affairs.
You know, sometimes the most people with instability in their past become the most stable because they have to build their foundation.
Oh, there you go.
Mm-hmm. You know, also maybe he did some therapy.
Yeah, we can only hope.
So then he drives her home. She gets home, and she goes in. She's gonna watch TV with Dad. Dad's asleep on the couch, and on the TV is basically some form of like TMZ being like, oh,
yeah, it's TMZ.
Like, is Logan a murderer? Find out more.
Mm-hmm.
Then we get the next morning. Veronica's like showered. I feel like her hair's wet. I feel like I can't remember. And she's like opening. We get this because we get a lot of scenes where she's talking to us. I feel like more so than the television show ever did. Like us as the audience. And she's like, I'm opening this old, like I have this box. It's labeled accessories, and it's like all her old Spike stuff.
Yeah.
And she's like, it's like Pandora's box.
It's. But it's hilarious because it's her going back to doing PI. It's not fucking John Wick where he's like, I'm going to go murder a bunch of fools, so I'm taking a sledgehammer to like the concrete to pull out all my guns. She's like, damn, I got to like pull out my bag and my telephoto lens and a burner phone.
Well, and what I think is interesting too, because what it is about it, it's like for her, like they set up this metaphor of addiction that it's like one sniff or drink or like touch of PI stuff will then put her down a slippery slope back to PIing. And we never find out what like if she decided the cost was too high, like what that meant.
Yeah.
We don't know.
We don't. Because it's not like the sex tape was even related to her doing PI business.
No, it was because Wallace was going to join a secret club, and these men got a video of her having sex.
And she's a woman, so it doesn't. It's so incongruous.
Yeah, it's weird. So she's
but
like,
yeah, I just like the serious in which she's like grabbing her bag and her camera, and it's like, damn,
she's gonna dress in all black again.
Yeah, it's exactly the Bugs Bunny meme with the pistol. It says, "Lord, forgive me, about to go back to with the old me."
And she's like, this town, everything in this town is corrupt. Should I fix it? Like, or should I, like, you know what? I'm gonna have this one drink. I'm gonna do this one case. It's just like such a gross parallel because like addiction is like a real issue and like enjoying your job is a good thing.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's like really bad. And then on the other end, it's like she's becoming Batman. Yeah. And she's putting on the mask and she's going to go.
She's putting on her black leather jacket and her black jeans and her black pants again. And then Logan comes to pick her up at her house and he's like, you should always, like how she was like, oh, you should always be wearing this in his navy whites. He sees her in all black and he's like, you should always be wearing this.
Yeah. I liked you better when you were.
I like you when you're in PI mode. Which is like, I think they're supposed to be trying to show us that she's like, he likes the real Veronica.
Totally.
Not the image of Veronica that she's trying to create for society. It's just interesting.
Big old quotes.
So then she's like, you know what? We're going to do this one hit. We're going to take this one drink. I'm going to be a junkie for PI work. And then her and Logan drive over to Ruby Jessen's house to be like, okay, like we need to figure out like what's going on. Why is this woman obsessed? She's a stalker. How did she get in your house? Because Logan had mentioned at one point that they had caught her in their closet or in Carrie's closet. And so Veronica's like, she could have hid that camera, like taken that video of you. That way, like, you know, like you don't know how many times she's been in that house. And so they figure out that she got into the house by when they had flowers delivered for a party for Carrie. Ruby got in. And so then while we're sitting outside of Ruby Jetson's like apartment, which is like a garage unit she rents from a lady, Logan takes us through the night of the death. I would say the night of the murder, but we don't know if it was a murder yet. We know it's a murder.
Right, yeah.
But we don't know that it's a murder.
It's a murder, yet.
Right. And he talks us through him getting a phone call, getting a text from her that he needs to come, going to the house. The alarm code didn't work. And then finding her dead in the bathtub, but he didn't see an extension cord. We don't ever really get a conclusion on that either.
No.
I don't know like what happened to that plot point.
Of like how it was
done.
Yeah, exactly. How Cobb got away with it.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, it was Logan, which is fine. Like, I guess you could say, like, a murder's a murder, but then why did the extension cord narrative come up? Or is it just TMZ?
I think he was trying to say that, like, I didn't see any way that she could have killed herself with, being in the bathtub, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird.
Was there blood? Like, I don't know. That seems strange.
Yeah. It's strange. So Then
But yeah.
Veronica takes this opportunity to sneak into the house. So she goes up to the door, and the woman who rents the unit to Ruby, she's like, hey, George Clooney's going to film a movie here. I'm like a scouter. We need a garage unit. Can I look at your location? Can I see it? And then the woman's like, yeah, my son works for George Clooney, or something like that, because this is Neptune. So then she goes in to see it. She gets a phone call on her cell phone that she must have given the lady because it was on the card, being like, I work for George Clooney and I know he's not filming something there. Like, why are you breaking into my mom's house? And she hangs up the call. She's looking through the house. She finds a Neptune High yearbook, and she looks in it, and she finds that Ruby Jetson was actually Delapue, who was a girl who was a couple years younger than us. Us, like I was in that class.
Yeah, exactly.
And so
when we all graduated.
So she calls Wallace while he's at work at the school, and she's like, hey, I need you to get me a student's file. And he's like, hi, I'm a teacher. Can't do that. And she's like, sure you can. She doesn't go there anymore. And he's like, that doesn't make it better.
It's really good.
But he
tremendous callback.
She asked him to get that file for the woman. And then Veronica sees that the police show up while she's sneaking in the house. Deputy Sachs and another man come in to catch her. She gets taken into the station, long story short.
Yep.
And Cliff is, of course, there with her dad to bail her out.
Oh, yeah.
We don't get a lot of Cliff.
No.
I want more Cliff.
Exactly.
I always want more Cliff.
Agreed. Yeah. He's like barely in it because he's then later attached to another hanging thread. And it's like, damn it.
Mm-hmm. So, Cliff, they bail her out, but then, who's waiting there for, at the police station? None other than our good friend, our Bonnie stalker, Ruby, who is like, oh no, like Veronica didn't break into my house.
Yeah. Well, because this is where we get the first introduction of like, not introduction, sorry, our first character moment with the new Sheriff Lamb, and he's like fucking dressing Keith up and down. We get no basis on why he hates Keith, probably just because regular PI business, but I wonder if partially he blames. We don't get like any indication of like, hey, your past relationship with my brother is possibly informing this, but they start getting, it starts trash talking about like, oh, all the charges Veronica's gonna face, and then Delapue walks up.
And she's like, oh, haha, she was the one in my unit? Like, no, Veronica and I are BFFs. And they, like, joke, or they, like, try to sell that story.
Mm-hmm.
So then, like, Cliff and Veronica basically talk out of the charges because Veronica is a lawyer. I do love that she carried the conversation that, and Cliff's like, exactly what my client said.
Right, yeah, like, jumps over him. He's just like, oh, yeah, right. Corrects him.
At the same time, Keith is very mad at her because he's like, people who are convicted of felonies can't take the bar. Please don't throw away your life.
Mm-hmm.
So then charges are dropped, and Veronica grabs her new BFF, and she's like, why are you doing this? And also, like, why were you stalking? Basically, are you the murderer, but not?
Yeah, and like,
what do you want out of this?
Hey, you actually know me because I tried out for the dance team and you said I should dance better if I actually wanted to make the team in high school.
Yeah, she was like, you know what? Like, I tried out for the dance team and everyone told me you were the nice one. So I went to ask you what I could do better. And you said I should dance better. And Veronica's like, okay, so I was probably a dick when I was 16.
Right.
Aren't we all?
Aren't we all?
She was like, yeah, I want a date with Logan. I want to basically pretend to be Carrie for a night.
Yes.
In exchange for this. Veronica's like, hell yeah, I can do that.
We can set you up, yeah.
Veronica's like, I'm not going to jail, baby.
Yeah,
no felonies around here. So then Logan has to take her on a date to the 09er. Veronica comes with them, rides in the back seat because she's the DD.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very expensive bar. The 09er. Is where the 09ers go to drink now that they're in their 20s and 30s.
Yes, they get this hip new club.
It's like it's just expensive drinks.
Yep.
And white men.
Yeah, 100%. And we get a parade of cameos in this. We get Justin Long coming up being gross. Fuck, I forget the guy. I'll have to see if I can pull up his name. The next one who's like bugging her. And we get a very fun one of Dax Shepard trying to beckon her onto the dance floor and like dancing around.
Mm-hmm. Which is cute because, they'd been married for like a year or two. They'd had a baby.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, no, thank you. No, sir.
Yeah.
We love it. We love a good little family cameo.
I mean, like, that is pretty fun.
It's cute. I like it.
Kyle Bornheimer is the other guy.
So then Veronica gets a call while she's at the bar. And it's that law firm. They want to hire her and they want her to start on Monday.
Right, I forgot about this. The ticking clock thing here that they never resolve.
Mm-hmm.
We only get one phone call with them.
So then our Carrie Bonnie BFF fan believes, like, she's like, hey, what's happening? Like, I didn't kill her. Like, here's what I think. I think it could be this. I think it could be that. And starts spewing out some fan theories.
But also confirms that she was waiting outside the club the night of the murder, that she was not waiting. She was not allowed in.
Yeah, she was not allowed in, and the bouncer confirms that she was performing, what was it, like Cleopatra or something like that, like a skit or a play or a dance or something.
Right, when she heard the news that Bonnie died.
Yes. So she's like, well, you know what it is? They murdered her because she was boning a priest and the church silenced her.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
The phrase boning really stuck with me from this, so that's why I used it, because I was like, that's hilariously odd.
Totally.
And so then they take her home because, the night is over. Her date is done.
Right. But Logan's deed is done. Let's get her out of here.
Logan makes some sassy comments about it. He's like, oh, yeah, for sure. I'm going to take her roller skating next. Loved it. What a great night. And he's like, should I take you home? And she's like,
yeah, she also tongue assaults.
Oh yeah, she facially
Logan.
assaults Logan.
Yeah.
And then Veronica's like, Logan, yeah, drive me home, but let's take the long way home.
Yeah.
They cross bridges.
Yeah, they cross like the Coronado Bridge, I think, at San Diego, and there's like, there's playing this like nice music. The same music occurs multiple times whenever they're having a romantic moment together.
And then we get a nice little like analogy about, she's like, wow, it's just like I poured the glass and I smelled it, but I didn't take a sip.
Ate it.
Do I get an extra chip for that?
As we throw the remote through the TV.